Chapter 6 Shaking Shadows. Just a hint of the moon hung high in the ink-black sky, casting silver light across the irritable, restless ocean caps. The Bloodstained Lullaby cut through the chop with a slow yet steady grace, its sails billowing in the nocturnes beyond a breeze. On deck, the crew buzzed with focused, quiet anticipation, whispers of the night's escapade to be drifting through the wet, salty air. Serafina stood hard, both hands at the helm, her raven hair flowing violently in the wind and rain, the limited moonlight highlighting her determined features. Tonight, they would infiltrate the notorious black market Pulgado Bazaar, a well-hidden haven for the New World's most nefarious slavers, traders, and fugitives. As her ship approached the recently discovered secret cove, Serafina's thoughts wandered to the book that had first awakened her sensuality, The Dance of Eros and Physiche. The memory of her first exploration of its pages, the way her body had responded, fueled her resolve. She began connecting the adrenaline rushing through her with that of her full climax into sexual release. She was no longer afraid or ashamed of being a survivor. She was a warrior force of her own desires, a queen commanding her destiny and that of her loyal and loved crew.
"Make ready the boats,"
she commanded, her voice a low, seductive purr that sent a shiver up a timber. Solana, her trusted first mate, was at her side in an instant, her eyes a mix of questionable concern and blind admiration.
"Are you sure about this, Sarah?"
Solana asked, her voice barely above a whisper as the rains pounded the deck like drums of war, carrying them into pending battle. Serafina turned to her almost in slow motion, dripping, glistening in what's left of the moon, a wicked smile playing on her lips.
"Do we live in fear or do we live in faith, Solana? The black market Pulgado holds secrets we need, and perhaps a few pleasures we may desire."
The crew, including the ever-braveless, creepy Uncle Alistair, an eccentric sorcerer Twink, prepared for the covert operation. Alistair's committed gaze lingered on Serafina, a silent promise of protection as best he could, at cost of his own life should it so demand. The sorcerer, with his arcane and perchance insane knowledge, muttered incantations and offered prayers to the gods, devoutly hoping to ensure their success as they made port. In the almost early hours of the morn, they navigated the labyrinthian-like alleys of the black market Pulgado. Serafina's senses were heightened, her loins tingling. The air was thick with the scent of exotic spices, animal blood, and the undercurrent of unknown dangers. It was here that they came upon Morgana, a rival pirate queen of a small cayo in the Caribbean, whose extreme guile and selfish misdeeds had become more than a thorn in Cinebeard and Serafina's sides. Morgana was not only a rival in her influence and power, but also in her beauty, stunning and cunning desires. Their encounters were a smashburger of passion and conflict, each meeting leaving a mattered mark on the framework of their souls. Serafina knew that tonight, their paths crossing once more, was to be another dance of shadows survived and surprised seduction. In the puddles of a hidden, dimly lit alcove, Sarah confronted Morgana. Murderous sexual tension between them was palpable, a simmering heat threatening to ignite, then explode. Morgana's eyes, dark and alluring, met Serafina's with a challenge that was impossible to resist.
"Serafina."
Morgana purred, stepping closer, her fingers trailing along Serafina's arm.
What brings you to my domain?
You know why I'm here.
Serafina replied, her voice a husky
You have
whisper.
something I need.
And what might that be?
Morgana's slowly licked lips curled into a knowing smile.
Information. And perhaps
Serafina leaned in, her breath warm against Morgana's ear.
another taste of your fruit.
Their lips met in fierce, demanding kisses, a clash of wills and desires, aggressive and insisting. They threw each other against the wet, rain-soaked walls of the narrow alleyway, hands grabbing to explore and remember each other's secret parts as the hungry grab for food. The world around them disappeared as they became lost in the violence of each other's embrace, their bodies pressed together in a desperate fight for dominance and connection. The passions calmed as their bodies tired, and they gently retreated into private quarters away from the gaze of any others. They quietly surrendered to one another in the perfect peace of pleasures in Morgana's bedchamber. As night wore on, their rendezvous interwoven with whispered secrets amidst stolen moments of passion's pleasure, Serafina's mind raced with the implications of the information she had gathered, and a strong desire to plunge her dagger deep into Morgana's heart in the climax of her next orgasm. Meanwhile, her body was still thrumming with the aftershocks of their surprise encounter. When dawn approached, Sarah somehow resisted stabbing a still sleeping Morgana. Standing over her, knife clutched in one hand, she began touching herself with the other. After another full-body climax into release, even more powerful than those before, she returned to the Bloodstained Lullaby, her thoughts now a whirlwind of both strategy and desire. Solana greeted her with a concerned and knowing look, but her loyalty unwavering.
Did you get what we needed?
Solana asked.
More than I expected.
Serafina grinned, her voice tinged with satisfaction.
The world is changing, Solana. We need to get ready.
With Morgana's secrets in her grasp and the taste of her rival's passion still lingering on her lips and in her loins, Serafina knew that the path ahead was to be fraught with peril and difficulty. These bedchamber shadows had only just begun to tell the tale. She must be ready to lead her crew into the heart of darkness and prepare to die for her desires in the days and weeks ahead. Serafina's thoughts lingered on the intensity of her encounter with Morgana. Every brush of skin, every smell the gentle breeze blessed her with, every whispered secret she had shed, like the bit of dried blood she wiped from her lower lip and chin, a battle fought on the edge of imaginable. She couldn't shake the feeling of Morgana's naked chest against hers, her eyes on hers, tongues fighting for the exciting taste of sweat and blood intertwined. The crew of Bloodstained Lullaby was abuzz and ablaze with preparation craze, rumored guessing at their next move. After calming herself, she calmed her crew. She demanded.
All hands on deck. All eyes and all ears on
She
me.
bellowed above the winds in the voice of a goddess. The information Serafina had obtained pointed them towards a hidden cache of ancient mythical artifacts, guarded by a secretive order known as Shadowkeepers. These relics were said to hold immense magical powers, and Serafina knew that whoever secures them could potentially control or change the fate of the entire new world.
All crew at the ready.
Serafina yelled as she smiled and winked devilishly at Solana.
We set sail for the Isle of Shadows at first
Serafina
light.
then untied her tunic and took off her sword, dropping them to the floor in front of her feet. She stripped off her blouse, now standing before her crew, her perfect naked torso exposed bare for all to see. She gave them a moment to stare and believe their own eyes as they tried to process what they were seeing. Seraphina was covered in bite marks, deep black and blue and pink and purple bruises and wounds that were obviously human bite marks. As shocking as that might be in its own right for the crew to see, that isn't what had them gasping, staring, and in one case passing out. It was that these bite marks were glowing and pulsing, emitting some kind of magical light, energy, mist, if you will.
Hold me, Seraphina.
She roared, with arms wide, fists clenched, naked chest to the sky. The light from the bite wounds grew more and more vibrant and intense, swelling, pulsing, charging up until blinding to the point of forcing all to shield their eyes and look away. It finished in a magical explosion through an incredible, powerful beam of light focused towards the heavens. And then all was calm again, and there she stood, her chest still naked, except now there was not a bruise, wound, or scar to be found anywhere on her. She was revealed and healed in a witnessed miracle before their eyes.
Make ready for morn's light. Let the memory of this night help you sleep soundly, roundly, and right.
Seraphina bid them good night and retired to her private quarters. As the sun rose, casting a golden glow over the horizon, the Bloodstained Lullaby embarked on its new course. The crew moved with a sense of purpose, their loyalty to Seraphina now devoutly and divinely inspired. Alistair, with his ever-watchful, almost voyeuristic eyes, stood now not too by her side, although still ready to face whatever dangers may lie ahead, even if those dangers be somewhere within his Captain Seraphina now. The journey to the Isle of Shadows was fraught with challenges, rumors, and mistrust. Treacherous chop and shifting moon cycles tested their navigational skills, while ominous storms battered both days and nights. Some sickness also made the rounds, and a few crew were laid to rest in a watery grave for fear of infecting the rest. Seraphina's resolve remained with mind focused on the goal ahead, despite the rumblings and rumors that she might have been the one to bring the sickness aboard, along with her strange, new, unknown powers. One tired and worn-out evening, as the ship sailed through relatively calm waters under a sparkling starlit sky, Seraphina found herself alone on the bowsprit of the deck. The gentle rocking of the mighty ship and the sweet, cool night breeze provided a glancing moment of respite from the constant tension and turmoil of quest life. She gazed out at the horizon, completely lost in thought. Alistair approached quietly after just watching her for a clip, offering his presence for comforting reassurance.
Peso for your thoughts, Captain?
He asked, his voice soft, perhaps a little scared. Seraphina turned to him slowly, a seductive smile playing on her
about
lips.
The path we've chosen, the dangers, the rewards, and the unexpected encounters.
Alistair's eyes met hers, a mixture of admiration and unspoken longing.
We'll face nothing worse, Seraphina, than what we can't face together.
Just as they were about to kiss, Lady Fate laid play to other plans. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden slam, then an eerie silence that fell over the entire ship. The crew, sensing something amiss, began to gather on the deck, their eyes scanning the waters. The once calm sea now seemed to churn with an unnatural force and an ethereal bioluminescent glow. Out of the darkness, What appeared to be some kind of ghostly ship emerged, its tattered sails billowing in a non-existent wind. The crew of the Bloodstained Lullaby watched in awe and fear as the spectral vessel drew closer. Seraphina's grip tightened on her sword, her senses on high alert. The ghost ship came to a halt alongside the Bloodstained Lullaby, and a figure materialized on its deck, cloaked in shadows. The specter exuded an aura of ancient power and mystery. The crew held their breath as the figure spoke, its voice echoing like a whisper carried on the wind.
Seraphina, pirate captain of the Bloodstained
The
Lullaby.
specter intoned.
You would be queen, seeking the artifacts of the deepest shadows. To claim them, you must face the trials of abyss.
Seraphina stepped forward, her eyes locked on the ghostly figure.
We accept your challenge. Guide us through these trials, and we will
The
prove our
specter
worth.
nodded, a faint wince working on its ghostly face.
Very well. Follow us, and may your courage
The ghost ship began
see
to
you
move,
through.
and the Bloodstained Lullaby followed in its wake. The crew braced themselves for the unknown, their determination unwavering. As they approached the Isle of Shadows, the waters grew darker, the air heavy with an otherworldly presence. The island loomed ahead, shrouded in thick ground fog and mist vapor. The specter led them to a hidden cove where the first trial awaited.
The first trial
The
of
specter
the
announced.
To proceed, you must confront your deepest desires and fears. Only then will you gain the strength to claim these artifacts.
Seraphina stepped forward. She knew that to succeed, she would have to confront the shadows within herself, to embrace her true twisted desires and fears and emerge stronger to stay strong for it, and not let those demon shadows of the past own or define her. It was time for her to shake these shadows. As she entered the cove, a sense of foreboding passed over her. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine oils and myrrh, the darkness punctuated by flickering torches. The cove was a complicated maze of mirrors, each reflecting a different aspect of herself. Seraphina's journey through the mirrors was a dance of self-discovery and confrontation. Each reflection revealed a different facet of her soul, the fierce warrior, the passionate lover, the vulnerable girl who had once been a captive. She faced her years head-on, the memories of her past merging with the desires of her present. In one mirror, she saw herself locked in a passionate embrace with Morgana, their bodies entwined in a vision fugue state from the other night, frozen in perfect time. The intensity of their connection was undeniable, a force that both challenged and exhilarated her. In another mirror, she saw Alistair, his suspicious eyes filled with unspoken love and devotion, yet fearful and cautious. The bond they shared was deep and confusing, an odd source of strength that offered little true comfort. As she navigated the reflections of herself, Seraphina's confidence grew. She began to accept every part of herself, the darkness and the light, the fear and the desire. With each step, she became more attuned to her opportunity here in this place and time. As discovered and accepted, the mirror shadows were smashed with Sarah's bare fists, broken and bloody knuckles erasing them from the chains that held her. She emerged from the test with blood dripping from her still clenched fists. The specter awaited
You have
her.
faced the trial of the heart and emerged victorious. The path to the artifacts is now open to you.
Seraphina returned to her crew, and together they ventured even deeper into the Isle of Shadows, facing more trials that tested their courage, loyalty, and constitution. Each trial brought them closer to each other, and with every challenge they overcame, their bond grew even stronger. The crew of the Bloodstained Lullaby was not just a group of pirates. They were a broken family reborn, united by their shared experiences and loyalty to their trusted queen. As they finally reached the hidden chamber where the artifacts were kept, Serafina's heart swelled with pride. They had faced their fears and embraced their desires and emerged stronger for it. The power of the artifacts was now within their grasp. Serafina approached the ancient pedestal where the artifacts rested, her eyes shining with triumph. She reached out and claimed them, feeling their power surge through her veins. The crew of the Bloodstained Lullaby set sail once more, their spirits high. The shaking shadows had tested them, but they had survived and emerged victorious, their bond now stronger than ever. As they sailed into the horizon, Serafina knew that their journey was far from over. New challenges awaited them, new adventures that would test their courage and commitment. But with her incredible crew by her side and the power of the artifacts now in her possession, she was ready to face whatever the future held. The Bloodstained Lullaby sailed on. Serafina, the pirate queen, stood at the helm, her heart filled with a fire for the adventures yet to come. Looming always, however, was her pure desire for more.